Hello, everyone, and welcome back to 305 Insights, where today we're going to be talking about the top transfers coming into FSU this year. The previous episode, we discussed the top returning talents, homegrown wise, so now we're going to be doing the top transfers. Keep in mind, again, this is a different era of college football where transfers are a key component, unlike in decades past. So we're going to kind of go in reverse order of importance in my mind. At number 5, we're going to start off with cornerback Earl Little Jr., transferred in from Alabama. Used to play, I believe he played under Patrick Surtain, or he played at Patrick Surtain's old school that he coached in high school. 6'1", 190 pounds. And the coaching staff is looking at him to replace Jaron Jones at the slot corner. But he's also has the ability to play safety if needed due to his high level of versatility. But again, with the importance of defensive backs in Adam Fuller's 4-2-5 defense, putting him with Azareye'h Thomas and Fentrell Cypress, it should allow for a really good pass defense this year. Maybe not as great as it was last year, because Jaron Jones was really, really good in the slot. But you figured if Azareye'h takes the next step, if Fentrell continues to grow in the system, and for all the reports that we received, Earl Little Jr. has looked great so far. So it's really important to have that experience at cornerback in this system. There's a lot of up-and-coming talent from the past recruiting classes that will see playing time bit by bit. However, having the ability for Earl Little Jr. to step in and plug in a veteran replacement right away is something that it can't really be measured in a certain way until you see it on the field. And again, he may not be as shut down as Jaron Jones was, but this is a lot better than having Joseph or Jones step up as true sophomores and stuff like that, and really throwing them to the fire rather than easing them in. Number 4, I'm going to go with running back Roydell Williams, who is expected to be running back 1, transferred from Alabama as well. He is a running back with great vision and cutting ability, and I really expect him to set the tone for the running game with the counter opportunities that Norvell and company like to run on offense, pulling the guards and whatnot. But another thing that you have to keep in mind, we talked about last season, Trey Benson and how many opportunities he created with his ability to bounce off tackles and, just extend plays that maybe shouldn't have been extended. Williams himself averaged 3.3 yards after contact, so he's showing the ability to throw his weight around. He's 5'10", 215 pounds, and again, he may not have that top flight speed, but again, his cutting ability, his vision, and his ability to break tackles is going to be very vital for this offense. There's a lot of pieces in the running back room, and we'll dive into that in later podcasts. But he's going to be the tone setter. And again, veteran leadership to bring in. You also have guys like, Toa Feely. Kazia Holmes has been here for 2 years now, technically. And, you have the younger kids coming up. So Norvell likes to use a rotation of running backs to keep everybody healthy and also wear down the defenses. And Williams is the perfect guy for this. Number 3, this one's tough, but I'm going to give the edge to a defensive person to be number 2. So number 3, we're going to go with wide receiver Malik Benson, another transfer out of Alabama. 6'1", 195 pounds, with 10,400-meter speed. He's the blueprint for how they want their wide receivers in terms of game-breaking abilities to be in this new version of the offense. And when I say new version, you got to compare it to last year where you had Keon Coleman, Johnny Wilson, and those guys are just freak athletes in the sense of one's 6'7", the other one's 6'3", 6'4". Great route running abilities on Keon Coleman to get himself open. And, Johnny Wilson kind of fixed his inability to catch the ball in terms of having a lot of bad drops. But this wide receiver room is going to look a lot different. You've got, again, Kentron Portier might be the biggest guy. Hakeem Williams is pretty big. You got other guys like Williamson and Deuce Spawn. But, again, Malik Benson, game-breaking speed. He's going to be the standard in the wide receiver room to exploit the elite arm strength of DJ Uiagalelei. You're going to have the constant countering of the running game in combination, which I think this team is probably going to go a bit more vertical this year. If not, you will see kind of what they did a little bit last year with a lot of like deep slants and trying to get these playmakers out in open fields. But Malik Benson expected to be wide receiver 1, and a lot of insiders are expecting to have a huge year in this system. Number 2, we are going to go with Marvin Jones Jr. out of Georgia. Well, transferred out of Georgia. 6'5", 250-pound former 5-star prospect. Looks to continue the Jones name at FSU. His father, he finished 4th in the Heisman race in the 90s. This is a legacy through and through. And this will be his first healthy offseason. He's dealt with injuries in the past 2 years at Georgia. And this is his time to shine. FSU is going to be able to build him back up with that strength and conditioning program. He's going to be used on the other side of Patrick Payton. He's going to be this year's Patrick Payton, basically. Patrick Payton's probably going to be more of a Jared Verse type with his ability to create havoc in multiple ways, not just sacking the quarterback, but tackles for losses, batting down passes, etc., etc. And it's going to be up to Marvin Jones Jr. to use this, massive athletic ability to break through. And there is a lot of internal expectation with the coaching staff that he is going to be able to do that. And you've got the leadership of Peyton, who showed up, in a lot better shape this year in the sense of he gained muscle to withstand the rigors of the season because he knows what's ahead for him. And leading by example, you've got him, you've got Farmer, you've got Jackson on the defensive tackle side. And they know what it's like to go through this program and be in this program. And Marvin Jones Jr. knows what this program's like with his father and the standards and the expectations. And those will be implemented. And I think he is going to be the biggest contributor on defense when it comes to the transfers. Number 1, of course, the most important position, QB. We're going to go QB DJ Uiagalelei, formerly of Clemson, formerly of Oregon State, 5-star prospect back in the day. 6'4", 245 pounds. He is mobile, though. He's not a barn burner when it comes to, running with his legs, but he can move. He's got a huge arm, and I think that will allow this offense to be more vertical, like I stated earlier. And again, you have to look at the talent on the roster that was already there, the weapons brought in. He can be used And this is where I think the difference between him and Jordan Travis is. Jordan Travis is probably a slightly more accurate passer. I don't think we're expecting um, DJ to be well over 65% with his completions, but he does have a better arm than Jordan did, or does, and he's not the athletic runner, but this is where the difference, like I said a few sentences ago, he's going to be that short yardage player that could be used to set up plays throughout the game. So again, maybe not option read or read options. However, it could be those QB sneaks, QB dives in the sense of QB delayed runs. He's a big boy. He can take the pounding. I felt like there's a lot of times last year where the coaching staff didn't use Jordan Travis's mobility because of their concern of him getting injured. I'm not saying they're going to run DJ 10 times a game, but 3 to 4 times a game, deliberately, they will try and run him to add another wrinkle to that running offense that could eventually open up holes later on in the game with maybe not Roydell Williams, but maybe with guys like Singleton or Kazia Holmes or Toafili, one of the guys that can really like cut up the field. Maybe throw in Ja'Kai Douglas in the backfield every once in a while or something like that. So DJ is going to have to get comfortable with this system. You saw bursts of talent at Clemson before he transferred out. He was unfairly labeled as the main point of all the issues at Clemson. And with Cade Klubnik being there for the past 2 years, you're starting to see that it probably wasn't DJ. And he had a really solid year at Oregon State. You figured with the old offensive line that they have coming back at Florida State this year, it's not the high-end talent of wide receivers of last year. There's a lot of ifs on the team, but there's enough talent there on paper, if certain people stay healthy, that you should be okay with it. If Kenton Portier stays healthy this year, he's going to be a difference maker. But if not, you still have Hakeem Williams to lean on. You still have Malik Benson. You still have a lot of guys that are coming back for the 3rd, 4th, or 5th year under Mike Norvell's system. So it's not something that's a great concern. What would concern me more is the tight end room. So you have guys, again, like Kyle Morlock coming back. And that's pretty much the only veteran leadership you have there. You have Jackson West, but he was more of a blocker rather than wide receiver. And then that's where you fall in the Landon Thomas territory of true freshman coming in and seeing where he fits in the system with his athletic abilities. And apparently the coaching staff is a lot higher in the tight end room that external people are. So we'll see how that breaks down. But there's a few guys we didn't mention. You have transfers coming in on the defensive line. You have linebackers like Sean Murphy coming in, and maybe he might not start. You also got Cam Riley coming in at linebacker. But for sure, you have DJ Lundy starting. Who's going to be that second linebacker? Is it going to be a transfer in Murphy or Riley? Or is it going to be Blake Nicholson or Cryer coming in and making a difference? You brought in Amarian Cooper back after one season in Colorado, probably play him at safety and not cornerback. You brought, what was his name? Brown, I believe, from Miami. And you're making sure he's probably safety. And Devontae Brown. So there's a lot of high-end talent that was brought in the likes of DJ, Marvin Jones Jr., you have that top end talent that was brought in the transfer portal, but you also saw a lot of depth being brought in. And it wasn't just like in the past where it's like, oh, we got Jermaine Johnson, we got Keon Coleman, we got Darnell Jackson, we got Johnny Wilson, like all these like Johnny Wilson when he came in was an intriguing prospect. He wasn't a top tier guy. He became that way at FSU. Keon Coleman was expected to be a top tier talent because of his numbers at Michigan State. But again, Cam Wright hasn't really broken through as a big linebacker. I believe he's like 6'4", 240 pounds. He's almost like a DN size. So will they use him in some formations that way? Not necessarily as a DN, but Adam Fuller might use him to blitz, or even rather than drop him in coverage. Or we all know DJ Lundy's excellent at running the running game, stopping the running game. But who's going to be the next one? Is it going to be Blake Nicholson stepping up? Is it going to be someone else stepping up? There's a lot of unknowns on this team as we're going through these podcasts. And as we dive deeper into like a positional basis in the position groups. But there's a reason why they're considered the favorites in the ACC is because of how Norvell and company have seamlessly integrated transfers into their culture and into their systems. That's why after, the proof is in the pudding. They went 10-3 and then 13-0. Technically 13-1, yeah. But regular season, 10 wins. Oh, they didn't have 10 wins because that was the bowl game that put them at 10-3. But 2 double-digit back-to-back winning seasons. And the program's pointing up. You're having better recruiting classes. Maybe not on the elite level that fans are hoping for, but they're getting better and better. You have more and more elite prospects wanting to transfer into FSU because they see that there's an opportunity to be coached up and get playing time. And again, track record, Jared Verse, Jermaine Johnson. You're going to have Patrick Payton, even though he's more homegrown than those other guys. Marvin Jones Jr. transferred here to get that development from Odell Higgins and company. There's a lot of signs that show this is a good coaching staff that can develop talent. So we'll see how these guys integrate themselves. Again, I think DJ is going to have a solid year. Marvin Jones Jr. is going to have a great year. Earl Little Jr. is going to have a good year. Malik Benson's going to have a really great year for his standards because he haven't had the opportunity to show off his athletic abilities. And, Roydell Williams is probably going to lead the league in rushing. Not the league, lead the team in rushing. So, a lot of signs pointing up. Again, there's a lot of transfers coming in this offseason. We had mentioned some of the offensive line ones like Richie Leonard. And then there was another one from Alabama. But development is key. Keeping the momentum is key. And Norvell and company have done a great job to not just supplement what they have now, but also give the young kids the ability to thrive. When we talk about DJ is going to be one and done at quarterback. That gives Brock Glenn another year to develop. That gives someone like Luke Crono coming in plenty of time to get his feet wet in the system and practices and whatnot without the expectations of him needing to play. Because DJ is going to be big enough to endure a lot of hits if he needs to. But if not, we have someone like Brock Glenn being able to step up as the backup. Same thing in the running back room. Roydell Williams is going to be running back 1. However, you are going to have Tuofili, Kazia Holmes. There's a lot of guys that had the capability of running with that ball. So, a lot of good pieces, but also a lot of pieces that allow them to keep a certain rotation going, to keep the high school recruiters or high school recruits from knowing that, hey, just because we get transfers, we're not abandoning your development. So see if Norvell can keep that momentum up. See if the staff can do that as well. And yeah, again, we're going to keep on doing dives into Florida State. We might break it down even further by positional groups. We haven't forgotten about UM. We'll keep the podcast churning out. So it's just been a little weird with the recording that I use. I initially used Anchor to post on Spotify, and now Spotify bought them out, and then they've kind of disintegrated Anchor within their app. So now there's a new application I have to use. So just trying to get used to it, trying to play around with it and see how it goes from here. But once again, we'll start churning out the content as the college football season gets a lot closer. So thanks for stopping by, folks. Thanks for listening. Don't forget the usual: like, subscribe, follow us on all the places that we constantly tell you. You can find us on YouTube. You can find us on Spotify. You can find us on Apple Podcasts. Whichever way or however way you're consuming our content, we greatly appreciate it here at 305 Insights. So once again, thanks for listening. Have a good one, folks, and we'll see you next time.